Hey gang, Russ Richards again from Sentinel Firearms Training in southeastern Wisconsin with my first in the series of videos outlining and talking about how to pick a gun for concealed carry or self-defense, how to fit a gun for concealed carry or self-defense so that you can shoot it accurately. And I'll just get started with that. Uh, let's say you don't have a gun, you don't have a handgun, you've never had any experience with shooting whatsoever. Okay, it's very important, as I discussed in my previous video, that you seek out someone that you can trust, that understands how to be safe with a gun, and have them teach you. Don't try to figure it out on your own, because these things are extremely dangerous, and you probably already know that, but you want to get instruction and training. There's a difference between practice and training. Training is when you are learning a new skill under the guidance of a professional who knows how to teach that skill. Practice is then when you take what you learned in your training and you go off to work on it by yourself. Okay, and that's the difference. So what we do here at Sentinel Firearms Training is we teach you the techniques, the methods, and the movements, and the choreography, if you will, to safely run a gun in self-defense situations so that you can go home and practice all of those dance moves in the privacy of your own home and for no cost. All right, and we teach you how to safely do that. Yeah, most of the work involved or the training involved in using a gun for self-defense is how to move your body, what your body's doing, and where the gun is being moved, and how the gun is being moved, how the gun is being deployed or whatever, and then a good portion of it is also marksmanship skills. But really, the distance that you have from your threat and all of that stuff is done with your physical fitness and how you learned how to do it and how you can safely deploy your firearm is stuff that you can practice, and you never have to fire a shot. It doesn't have to be any money spent on ammunition learning how to draw a gun and present it from concealment and deploy it efficiently. All right, so let's digress and let's go to, I want to get a gun for self-defense. What do? I want to conceal carry. I would tell you, if you are a beginner, if you are a rank novice with no knowledge whatsoever in handguns, is the first handgun you should own is a .22 long rifle handgun. That is the caliber of the gun, and it is a very light recoiling, extremely fun gun to shoot. It's important for you to be as comfortable as you can be with your firearm and your surroundings as you train and work on your marksmanship skills. And a .22 long rifle lets you get ammunition at a really affordable cost today. And the guns aren't that expensive compared to others. And they're a lot of fun to shoot. Okay. And my top recommendation, if you're thinking about getting a concealed carry and you're working into self-defense, is to get a .22 pistol that actually replicates a concealed carry size or a combat style gun. And the Ruger SR22 is a great gun for that. Plus, they come in all these really cool colors. All right, so you don't have to look like a tactical warrior if you don't want to. I use this yellow and black one because it allows me to show my students where all the bells and whistles are on the gun and where all the levers are on the gun really easily. It's it's a great visual aid. That's why I picked the yellow and black one. Right now the slide is locked open, and if you hit the slide lock lever, slide release lever, you can push that down and let the slide go forward. We also see that the hammer is cocked on this gun, and because this gun has what they call a magazine disconnect safety, when the magazine is removed from the gun or when the ammunition source is removed from the gun, the trigger will not let the hammer fall. The trigger is disengaged and the hammer won't drop. So this is just an added measure of safety. We've all heard the story about the guy who shot himself while he was cleaning his gun. Well, if you're smart enough to remove the magazine before you start any of that shit, then when you pull the trigger, you won't shoot yourself or someone else standing at the end of the barrel, which shouldn't be pointed at anyway. All right, so I'm going to put the magazine in the gun after determining that it is not loaded. Okay, there are no cartridges in the gun. I'm going to put the magazine in the gun, and I have the wrong magazine. Hey, I got a lot of guns here. Big mistake, right? Too many guns, because something could go wrong. So I have the right magazine in the gun now. I have the correct magazine in the gun now, and I'm going to go ahead and pull the trigger, and I'm just going to let it drop. I'll release it. This also has a safety lever on it, which is also a decocker. Okay, so if you have cocked this gun and the hammer is back, all right, and you don't want to shoot it, you're getting ready to, you just wanted to put a cartridge in the chamber of the gun and you don't want to shoot it, you will push down on this decocker or safety lever, which also doubles as a safety lever, and we will watch the hammer safely fall without letting the gun discharge. So that's the safe way to do it. Of course, my fingers were nowhere near the trigger. I didn't pull the trigger. I just used the decock lever. So this is a great gun. And I don't want, I may be boring to some of you advanced operators out there that might be watching this video, but this video is designed for beginners, okay, that don't have any knowledge. This gun's action type, when we refer to action type, we're talking about how the gun operates, how the trigger affects the firing rate of the gun. And this is what they call a double action, single action gun, or you'll see the letters, the acronym DASA, meaning that the trigger can do one thing only, drop the hammer, which makes that a single action, or it can do two things. It can cock the hammer and drop the hammer with one pull of the trigger, making it a double action gun as well. That is a safety device. If you carry your gun in this configuration with the hammer down after you have decocked it, and then you need to shoot, that first round is going to be, that first trigger pull is going to be long and heavy with considerable amount of pressure needed to get the gun to fire. This is an added safety feature, another safety feature. So you would have disengaged your safety lever, and now you begin to pull the trigger, and it takes a lot of pressure to get that gun to go. Now, what happens then after you pull that trigger and the gun fires is all subsequent cartridges that will cycle through this gun will be fired in single action mode with the hammer already cocked. So now all the other trigger pulls that come behind that first one are going to be short and heavy with very little movement of the trigger. Once again, in double action, the trigger starts here and I've hit a wall, and now I have to really push hard to get it to go. But once it goes into single action mode, the trigger comes back halfway, and there's a lot of play here with no force on it whatsoever, and then a little bit of effort and the hammer falls. These are great guns for practicing tactical shooting or combat shooting, self-defense shooting, and they don't cost a lot of money to shoot. The ammunition is cheap, and they're high quality guns. Now, prices are going to vary wherever you go around the country. Anyway, this would be my recommendation for a starter pistol, for a first-time pistol. If you start out with a centerfire cartridge, with a more powerful cartridge, you may experience recoil anticipation and find out that you bought too much gun. You have to get used to the recoil and the bang, okay, before you move up to something else. But I'm in a hurry, Russ. I need a gun right now. If you didn't need a gun yesterday, you don't need it now. Take your time and do it right. You can't miss fast enough to win a gunfight. And if you get a gun that you can't shoot accurately, it's not going to do you any good. All right. So we'll move up a little bit, and we'll go to the .380 caliber, which I have trained a lot of people here who this was their first gun. They bought it. I wouldn't have recommended it, but It is a centerfire cartridge, and it is on the lower end of the self-defense spectrum as far as power goes, but it's used and carried by a lot of people for self-defense. And some of the modern cartridges that they're building for this gun today are definitely capable of neutralizing a threat. And you have the added convenience of low recoil and a little softer bang, if you will. This gun is a Smith & Wesson Shield EZ 2.0, and it's a really nice gun. It's one of my favorites. I've cleared it. I've done a safety check. There's no magazine in it, and I know now there's nothing in the barrel. And now here's my empty magazine, the one that I was trying to put into the 22. I'm going to put that into the gun, and I'm going to lower the slide on it. Now you see this one doesn't have an exposed hammer. This is a striker fired pistol, and the difference between a striker fired pistol and a firing pin pistol is basically a firing pin is just a transfer rod that goes between the hammer, which strikes that transfer rod and drives it forward into the primer of the cartridge. It's just basically a rod. Yeah, there's other stuff in there, but that's all we need to know. A striker fired pistol has that rod, but that rod has a coil spring wrapped around it. And when you cock the gun, you compress that coil spring. And now that spring and that rod sit under tension. And when you pull the trigger, you drop the safeties that are in the gun and you release the tension on the spring, and the striker flies forward, striking the primer. So it's a different operation. It lends itself to a little nicer trigger pull or a more consistent trigger pull. And it is the evolution of the modern day handgun. It's where they've all gone now. The most popular handguns in the world are striker fired handguns. The United States just adopted one for its military. That's just where they're all at. DASA model that we showed you before is a great gun still today, but it was basically when they switched from revolvers to semi-automatics in the police departments here in the United States, the DASA was the action type that they went to, because the first round replicated a double action revolver trigger pull, and it made it safer for the police officers to get used to. We've gotten past that now. There are still guns made that way, obviously, but everyone's kind of gravitated towards the striker fired pistol. This one also has an added feature of a grip safety on it, so the gun won't fire unless that is depressed, or you have it in a firing grip. It also has a lever on it, a lever safety, a manual safety that can go on or off, and that's another. So it has two safeties on it like that, making it very safe. But as we know, as we've learned, safeties are simply mechanical devices on guns that can fail. So our ultimate safety is our straight finger away from the trigger and what we got going on up here. All right. And our focus on what we're doing. That's the safety. All right. You can't trust these other things. At no time shall you ever put your finger on a trigger unless your brain has made the conscious decision to do that and shoot the gun. And the barrel should always be pointed in a safe direction, which is any direction that if the firearm were to discharge would not cause injury or damage. Okay, but you need to know how to check the gun to see if it's loaded. I'll give you another cliche safety term for the new folks out there, and for some of us experienced shooters as well. Every gun is always loaded and should be treated as if it was always loaded. But it's important for you, as someone who wants to run their gun in self-defense, to know for sure if there's actually a cartridge in the chamber ready to go. All right? I'm not going to treat this gun as if it was loaded and find out when I need it to save my ass that it won't fire. Okay? I'm going to determine by looking into the chamber if there is actually a cartridge in there at all times and know the condition of this gun. But that being said, even with the magazine out and the slide locked open, and this gun cannot fire in this configuration, I am not going to let this end of the barrel point at anything I am not willing to kill. Okay, so two guns, briefly, that I would choose as beginning guns for someone that wants to learn self-defense and concealed carry. Okay? And this could be the only gun you ever have. You know, it's a great little gun. All right? Thank you for watching. Let's all stay safe.